Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So it's been a really long time since I've been able to film, so it feels so weird filming again. But yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and get right into it because I'm super excited for today's video. I was actually gonna make this into two separate videos, but it's just gonna be one whole one. I feel like it would be a lot easier editing anyway. So yeah, since it's October and it's spooky season, I kind of wanted to share some of my paranormal experiences, or I guess if you're a skeptic, more like unexplainable experiences. To be totally honest with you, I am a believer in like everything. I believe in ghosts. I believe in all types of paranormal things. I believe in aliens. I really love hearing about conspiracy theories. So today I'm going to do my makeup while I tell you some of my paranormal experiences. So yeah, let's go ahead and just get started. I'm not going to go too much into makeup details, so if you're interested in anything that I'm using, I will try to have everything listed down below. Just in case you're wondering what I'm using. But yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and get right into it. I also cut my bangs myself yesterday. I'm not sure if they're straight or not, but it doesn't matter. It's okay. Anyways, I've already done my brows off camera. I just haven't primed my eyelids. I am sweating. I'm so nervous. Why? That's disgusting. Okay, so I guess we're going in and just start with these stories. So I guess I should start off by saying that me and my brother, ever since we were younger, we've always joked around about how the house that I currently live in is haunted. And I don't know why that is. I don't remember ever experiencing anything as a young child, like nothing too serious. I know I feel like I have one memory, but you know when you have a memory but you're like, is it a real memory? Did it really happen, or was it more of a dream? That's kind of what I have about this one memory that I have. I'm not sure if it was real or if I was dreaming, so I can't really say if that's what I really experienced, but it is something that I experienced in this house as a little girl. I'm just not sure like how real it is. So I'm not really sure what really made us start saying that this house was haunted, but like I said, we've always said that since we were super young. But I don't think anything really started happening, or I've ever noticed really anything until I got my dog. You know, they say like dogs and babies are super like in tune with that stuff, and they can sense things a bit better. So yeah, I've never really experienced anything. I can never really prove that my house, or not really prove, but I guess share any reason as to why I thought my house was haunted, but I guess now I kind of can. So I guess I'll start off with my first story. I'm just going to share as many stories as I possibly can. So where do I start with this one? So I guess the story I'm going to start with, I guess it had to happen on a weekend night, and I think it was just me and my mom home at the time. I'm not sure where my brother was, but I know he wasn't home, and it was just me and my mom at the house, and I was in my room. I remember specifically, I was in my room, and my mother, she was in our laundry room, which is kind of like, it's like our kitchen, like our dining room, like kitchen area, and then there's a door that leads into the laundry room, and then next to the door we have like our like pantry, and then there's a corner where we have the back door leading out into the backyard. And so that's kind of like, she was in the laundry room near that area, and so I was in my room minding my own business, and all of a sudden I hear my dog like growling and barking, And I was like, what the heck is going on here? So I'm like, okay, no, I do not like the sound of that. So he's growling and barking, and all of a sudden he kind of starts whimpering, like crying, like if he was hit or hurt or something like that. And so I get up, and as I'm walking out into that area where the kitchen and the laundry room is, my mom is also walking out of the laundry room, and I'm like, what happened? And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, you don't know? Like, did you see anything? She's like, no, he was standing there barking and growling, like in the area where our back door was. What? Like, I was so freaked out immediately. Like, I don't think there was anyone. I mean, maybe there could have been someone in our backyard, but why would he like whimper as if he was hurt or something like that? That part didn't make any sense to me. This next story again has to do with my dog. I think I have like 3 stories that have my dog that are surrounding my dog. So I was, again, it was a weekend night, and I was in my room putting up my dirty clothes because I have no life, and that's what I do on my Saturday nights. I put away all my clean clothes. So I was putting away my clean clothes. My dog at the time was outside in the back, and I had just got done, so I was like, okay, I was ready to pop on a movie and just relax the rest of the night. So I was like, let me go ahead and bring my dog in. So I went to the backyard, brought him inside, and then I noticed whenever I bring him in, he always kind of like runs ahead of me into my room, or I like to call it our room because we share a room. And he normally runs ahead of me. And this time, instead of going in, when I had caught up to him and was going to go into my room, he was like stopped at the doorway of the room. And so I immediately thought like, okay, that's kind of weird. So he stopped there. He was kind of like staring at one of my windows I have in my room. And he would like not move. And so I proceeded into my room. And then as I was, getting ready to turn on a movie, he comes back in. Again, he doesn't enter the room. He's standing at the doorway. And he starts like staring at my window, growling and barking. And I'm like, I look at my window. Of course, I don't see anything. And I'm like, stop it. Stop. And he does not. He's continuing. Oh my God, why can't I speak? He continues to growl and bark, and I'm like, oh my God, okay, like you're really scaring me. I don't see anything. Like, stop it. Like, I was so freaked out. Like, oh, I can't. I'm even like kind of scared talking about these things right now because, for one, I'm home alone. So if I hear something, I know I'm gonna like scare myself. But I'm just gonna keep going. So again, I started thinking, is there someone outside my window? But the window he was staring and growling at, it is the back window. So it's the window looking out into the backyard, which he was just out in the backyard. So if there was someone outside that back window, he would have been growling and barking outside, which he wasn't. So it doesn't make any sense to me as to why he was growling and barking at this one area of my room. And I'm freaked the F out, right? I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. Like, I'm gonna die. That's all I thought. I'm gonna die. So I guess finally, after yelling at him so much to stop like growling and barking, because at this point I was really, really freaked out, he finally stops. And he's still, at this point, he's still not in my room. He is still standing at the doorway, and he leaves. Like he walks away, and then later, not too much longer later, but he comes back into the doorway, and this time he comes into the room, but I specifically remember this, and I cannot. I mean, it's a dog, right? Like, but if you have a dog, then you understand. Like the face he was making in his eyes, like he was like scared, but also like on guard. Still staring at this window in my room, but like trying to like walk as far away as possible from it. So like it's my door, and then the window is on this side, and he was just like walking all like as far as he possibly could from it. Like his eyes were just there, like staring at it. I don't know how I slept that night, to be honest with you, because I mean, I know I slept, but yeah, I don't know. It was really, really scary to me. And I know that happened a couple times. I don't know if that night was one of the nights. There have been times where he kind of like will, again, growl and bark and whatever. And I will say out loud, like, you are not allowed here. You need to leave. Because I watch a lot of paranormal things, and I also really enjoy paranormal podcasts. So I know that is one of the things that you can say. You can tell them if you don't feel a presence here, or if you feel a presence that you don't want around you, you can say that out loud, like, you're not welcome here, leave me alone, and the spirit is supposed to leave. So that's what I try to do sometimes. I just, out loud, I really say, like, you're not welcome here, like, leave. And I don't remember if I said that night. I mean, I imagine I would have, but to be honest with you, I was probably just so scared I blocked out the rest of the night from my memory. So I'm not really sure what happened. But yeah, that was probably one of the more like, actually it's not even one of the more creepy ones, because I have a spookier one that we'll get to in a sec. But yeah, that was that night. I do have one more story involving my dog that has probably creeped me out the most, and that I think about sometimes, because it didn't just, I know that it's not just me, it's also my brother who has experienced something similar to this. So again, proof that my life is really sad. It was a Saturday night, and I remember thinking that my kitchen area needed to be cleaned, and knowing the next day was Sunday, I was like, Sunday is going to be my lazy day. I'm not going to want to do that tomorrow. So I decided just to get up and kind of clean my kitchen area. So I had gotten up, and I remember I was cleaning off the table that we have, and I was kind of like standing by the table, but closest to where our hallway was. And sorry guys, I have like a lot of I feel like I'm getting congestion again. I was just sick, and I felt all this like phlegm like right in my throat again. It's kind of annoying. Okay, so I was standing nearest to the hallway, and I heard, and I saw my dog. I kind of heard and saw my dog kind of like run under the table, and I was like, oh, he probably wants to play. He probably has his like ball with him. Maybe he wants to like toss it around and play with it for a little bit. So I remember bending down under the table so I can grab the ball from him, and he wasn't there. I swear to God, I saw him from my corner of my eye, because he's a little black dog. I saw him run underneath the table, and I heard his little paws. And I was like, oh my God, he's not under the table. And then I snapped and he was outside. I was like, nope, 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 nope. I remember bringing him in. I went back to my room and that was it. Like, I did not come out for the rest of the night. I was terrified. I was like, what the hell? Like, I was so like freaked out. Like, I can't even begin to describe how freaked out I was. So then, a couple days later, like not too long after this happened, I didn't tell anybody about it, because I was too freaked out to even talk about it. So, a couple days later, our Wi-Fi had gone out, and at this time, my mom, from work, she was getting home like after 6. I was working 8 to 1, and my brother was going in later in the day, so he'd leave around like 4 or 5. So I get home from work that day, and I go into my brother's room because at this point, the only way to watch TV or a movie at least is in my brother's room because he has his PlayStation. So I go into my brother's room and we're watching TV, and then he's getting ready to leave for work, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna just chill in here and watch a movie until the cable guy comes. So I'm picking out a movie to watch, and we have The Exorcist. You know, The Exorcist. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and watch this movie. Why? I don't know. So my brother pops in the movie for me, and I make a comment. And also another thing is the room where my brother sleeps in, we always used to call that room the haunted room. I don't know why. I just know, like, sometimes when I was here alone and I was in that room, we would like hear things sometimes, like just like little noises. But again, this house is really old, so that could have been why. But so we would always call that room the haunted room. And so I had made a comment saying like, ooh, I'm gonna watch like a scary movie like in this scary room, or something like that. And then my brother says, it's not just this room, it's the whole house. What are you talking about? And I said, oh, dude, let me tell you what happened to me a couple days ago. And so I began telling him the story of how I heard my dog. And then he's like, yeah, and it's a little black like shape. And then I like freeze, and I felt my face go completely cold, because when I was telling him the story, I did not mention to him what I saw. I just said what I heard. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, you just described the exact thing that I saw. And like my eyes, how are my eyes tearing up right now? Ugh. Yeah, it was like, it was really, really spooky. Like, I was like, okay, I didn't tell you what I saw. I told you what I heard. And you've seen the exact same thing that I have. So at this point, then I tell my mom, okay? I tell my mom about it. Oh, and not to mention, this whole time that I knew that I was going to have to be the only one here while this Wi-Fi guy came and fixed our Wi-Fi, I was terrified to be here alone with a stranger because, first of all, I do not want to get murdered. So I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be here alone with a stranger. And then after talking to my brother about this, I was like, oh my God, Wi-Fi guy, hurry up. I don't want to be here alone. So I was like, yeah, it was really, really weird. But I think, like, I felt a little bit better knowing that I wasn't the only person who had, like, seen this. So yeah, that's that. And I thought about, like, saging the house, buying some sage and saging it. But first of all, I don't know how to do that, and I guess I can look it up, but I'm so cautious when it comes to that stuff, because I feel like if you do it wrong, or if you do it like even disrespectfully, it can have negative effects. So I don't want to do it myself. Like, I want to, but then also like I'm just scared to do it wrong or incorrect and, you know, make things even worse, because I feel like even if it was, you know, like a negative spirit or anything like that, maybe you would have already done something at this point. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I feel like if it was bad, and me and my mom have talked about this too, like if it was a bad spirit, maybe you would have already harmed us or did something. But at this point, it's just like, it's just creepy little things that have happened. So it's not like I feel in danger or anybody here feels endangered. But I do think it's weird how my dog would growl or bark at something, because I feel like if it was a good spirit, would an animal still really act negatively toward it? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't have the answers to that. And to be honest with you, I would look this stuff up, but I'm just too scared. I'm scared to like see what I find. I was so close to buying sage myself once, but remember it was like at a flea market, but I didn't because I chickened out and was like, no, I'm kind of scared, so I didn't. And then yeah, I don't know, I'm kind of, I don't know. So yeah, that was probably one of the creepier stories involving my dog. I have to say the other story that I often think about isn't too creepy, and it is one of my more like recent experiences, but I want to leave on a good note, so I'll leave that story for last. I've been doing my eyeshadow for like way too long now. I'm gonna run out of stories soon. Okay, so I finished the rest of my eyes off camera, and I also popped on some lashes because my camera needed to charge a little bit. So I went ahead and just did that because I was spending too much time on my eyes anyway. So I guess I can just start off by sharing a story that my grandmother once shared to me a long time ago. That I guess pretty much like installed the fear of owls into me. So yeah, I guess we're gonna go ahead and start with that one, even though it's freaks me out a little bit. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. So I guess if you grew up around Hispanic culture, then you might already know what lechuza is, but apparently it is a giant owl, like a man-sized owl, that is, I guess, supposed to be a witch who can shapeshift. So, yeah, that's where we're gonna start our story, okay? So my grandma was younger. She told me about how growing up, she and her family had a neighbor who they believed was a witch. And one night, I guess her dad was out, like in the backyard, or I don't know, front yard maybe, I'm not sure. But she said he was out, and supposedly this witch that they allegedly lived next to wasn't the biggest fan of my grandparents, not my grandparents, but my grandmother's family. So while my grandpa was outside, he said he was attacked by lechuza. He said it attacked him and he fought it off. My grandmother told me that, I guess from what she was told, he hit it and threw it around and fought with it for, I guess, a certain amount of time. I don't know. But the next day, when, am I not in focus? Okay. think I'm in focus now. Okay. As I was saying. So according to my grandmother, the next day when they saw their neighbor who was supposed to be this witch, she had cuts and bruises, and so they believe that my great grandpa fought off this witch who didn't like them. So that's kind of weird. Ever since then, I've kind of been like, owls, you bad. You bad. So yeah, ever since she told me that story, I don't know. I don't hate owls, but I'm like, are you human? Are you really a human? So yeah, that's another story that sometimes I think about and think like, that's crazy. But I don't know. There might be more details to that story that I'm missing because it was so long ago that she told me that story. That I mean, I could be missing some details. So I wasn't going to talk about this next topic because it truly like terrifies me. And I feel like if I talk about it, I'm like manifesting it out into the world. And I don't want to do that. But I guess we'll talk about it since I'm still here doing my makeup. I also go through like sleep paralysis. Did I miss a spot of foundation right here? Son of a biscuit. That's not noticeable, is it? I think I missed putting foundation on this spot. You know what? Whatever. Anyways. So yeah, I shouldn't say often because I haven't done it in a while. But I do like have sleep paralysis. Which if you have ever experienced sleep paralysis even once in your life, then you know how terrifying it is. And I feel like for me, I didn't really know if it was sleep paralysis for a while because I looked it up. And a lot of the stories that you hear, people are like awake. Not awake, but their eyes are often open and they just can't move. For me, a lot of the times it's my eyes aren't open but I can't move. Like I'm frozen in fear and I'm awake and I just cannot get myself to move like at all. And it's like it's so like you're telling yourself like just move and you just like cannot move. And so again, all the stories that I've read, people often have their eyes open. They can see shadow men or someone staring at them. And that's not what I experience. I don't have my eyes open. I can't open them. I'm like frozen in fear and I feel like I can't move. Like something is staring at me and it's watching me. And yeah, I don't know. Oh, it gives me the chills just like thinking about it. It's really scary. So for a while I thought maybe it's not sleep paralysis. I wasn't sure what it was. But then I was listening to a podcast, paranormal podcast, and one of the girls from this podcast, she was saying how it can come in different forms, and sometimes your eyes don't have to be open, and it's like your eye, I don't know how to explain it. Well, what she said, it's not that I don't know how to explain it, it's just that I'm scared to say it. If that makes sense, right? That makes perfect sense. Because I feel like this is even scarier than having your eyes open. So basically the way she explained it is like, your eyes don't always have to be open when experiencing sleep paralysis. And oftentimes if you feel like you can't open your eyes, I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it. I kind of don't want to say it. She says like you don't have to you don't have to see it, but your body knows, and it's frozen in fear because you're in the presence of an unholy spirit. I'm not gonna say the word, but you get my drift. I hope you get my drift. And once I heard that, I was like, mother effer. Like, okay, I was happy not knowing that information. And now that I know that information, I do everything in my power to make sure like I don't have sleep paralysis. A lot of the times it happens when you're sleeping on your back. So if you are someone who experiences sleep paralysis, try not sleeping on your back, because I know for a while I make sure I do not fall asleep on my back. I hardly even just lay on my back in fear of accidentally falling asleep like that. So I don't ever fall asleep laying that way. I sleep on my side or on my stomach. And since doing that, I feel like it really has helped because I haven't experienced it in quite some time. Knock on wood. Oh, this is wood. Because yeah, it's like, I mean, if you've experienced it, you know, like it's not a good feeling to go through. And I would never ever want anyone to go through that experience. Like, it's truly terrifying. And we're going to move on to the next subject because I don't want to talk about that subject anymore because it scares me. So I guess we can just move like on a lighter note, and I kind of have like a happier story. Well, actually, one of them's I have two stories. Oh my god, I have two more stories left. Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll talk about the creepier one, and then we'll leave like on the lighter one. I say it's light only because I'm telling myself it's not that serious, but we'll get into that later. So I would say maybe like a month or 2 months back, I stayed a week at my grandparents' house, because I have an aunt who lives there, and or her and her 3 kids live there. So for the summer, they went to go visit their brother who is going to school out of state, and he's the oldest out of the 4 kids in total that she has. He's the oldest, and he lives out of state going to college, and he was supposed to come down for the summer actually, and he wasn't able to make it. So my aunt, she went up there to visit for about a week, and she does have a younger baby. She's about to be 1 actually next month. At the time she was about 8-9 months, I guess. And so instead of having the trouble of carrying a baby with her on the plane and everything like that, I stayed at my grandparents' house and I watched her. So this happened about like the last day that I was staying there. They were coming back later that night, and just a bit of background on my grandparents' house. All of my aunts and uncles were raised there. My mother, she lived in that house. All 8 of them lived in this house pretty much their entire life, I think. I'm not sure, maybe. So it's a pretty old house. Couple years back, I had an uncle who, kind of like a second uncle. He was my grandmother's brother. He had gotten very sick, and he was staying with my grandparents, kind of like, you know, his last days with us. He was staying there, and he did sadly pass away there. And in one of the rooms, in the room that he was staying in. So the last day that I was there. I remember it was kind of early in the morning. And I hadn't slept much that night because the baby, or my cousin, right, the baby that I was watching, she kept getting up in the middle of the night that night. I'm not sure why, but she would get up and it would take her some time to like fall back to sleep. So that morning when she woke up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, I was really tired. And I went to my grandparents' room like I normally did that every morning that I was there. And I had an uncle who was there also, and my grandmother was like, oh, why don't you go ahead and just rest up for a little bit, go back to the room, take a nap. Your uncle will watch me, help her while you nap. So I went back into the room, I laid down, and I ended up falling asleep. And as I'm like getting up, well, first of all, I get up because I feel someone like sit on the bed, and they're kind of like rocking back and forth. And then so in my head, as I'm like waking up, I'm thinking like, oh, maybe my uncle's in here, maybe the baby fell asleep and he's putting her in her crib or something like that. So I'm just thinking of this as my eyes are closed, as I'm laying there. And then it felt like an accidental like hit on my foot, like a little tap on my foot, like they moved or something like that. And so I wake up because I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and get up. So I get up and there's no one in the room with me. So I get up from the bed, and I go to my grandparents' room. They're all in there. The baby is in her stroller, in her walker. And I don't tell them what happened. Like I don't tell anybody what happened. I kind of just like brush it off. Thought like, okay, maybe it was my imagination. And then later that night, this is where my uncle who passed away comes in. So later that night, we were watching, it was me and the baby, and in the room that we slept in, and I had the door open, and the door led into the hallway. Right across the room where me and the baby would sleep in, was the room that my grandmother's brother had passed away in. So me and the baby were on the bed, and I was like, you know what, her mom comes home tonight. I'm not gonna really like put her to bed because, you know, I was hoping that maybe she'd stay up long enough to see her mom come home. So I wasn't really like, you know, trying to put her to sleep or anything like that, but we were there watching TV, or I was watching TV, and all of a sudden, like, I noticed she's kind of like looking out into the hallway and smiling and laughing, and there's obviously nothing out in the hallway, right? And the only thing I can think of is like, maybe it's my grandmother's brother. So I am pretty convinced that it was him, because I don't think it would have, if it was anything else, like she would have been smiling or anything like that. So I know I do think that was him. But also, like, I keep saying like, and I need to stop because I'm annoying myself. So I thought that was pretty sweet. And then another story. I keep thinking of these stories. So my 2 days out of the week, I go to my grandparents' house. And on this one day that I was there with my grandmother, because my grandpa at this time, he was in the hospital having some surgery done. It was nothing serious, but he was in the hospital having surgery done. I know my grandmother, she was really worried, as grandmothers probably would be. So she had gone up to do something, take care of something around the house. And she comes back into the room and she tells me that she had gone into the room where her brother had passed away in. And apparently, her brother who passed away and my grandfather were super close. And she said she went in to go put some blankets down because there's a bed there. I have a cousin who who stays there, and that's now his room. So she had gone down. She had went into the room to put some blankets on the bed that's in there, and she said that when she went in there, she had found my uncle's guitar pick. Her brother's guitar pick. He used to play guitar, and she said she saw that in the room on the bed, and she took it as a sign of her brother saying, like, look, your husband's gonna be fine. She started getting like her bird food ready. Every morning she goes out with bread and feeds the birds, and she prays. So she was like starting to get like her bird food ready, and she's like, I'm gonna go pray and all this stuff. And I mean, I guess it could be explained. Maybe my cousin found it and put it on the bed. But yeah, it was just I mean, I thought it was like a really sweet little moment for my grandmother, because I know how much she cared about her brother and how much she loves my grandpa. So for me, I was just like holding back tears. I, to be honest, thought that I was going to tell these stories and be done with my makeup like way before I was done. That's not the case. And I really hope that all these stories like made sense, because I know I was pretty much all over the place. It's been so long since I filmed, and jumping right back into one where I have to like tell all these stories probably wasn't the best idea, because I know for sure I'm all over the place. But at least you guys don't have to edit this. I'm gonna have to be the one to listen to my annoying voice and edit this, and try to do a good job of it. Guys, forgive me if this video is all over the place. It's been way too long since I have been able to film, and I'm trying to get back into like the groove of things. But yeah, I'm gonna keep this outro super short. Thank you so much for watching, and be safe out there. Remember, if you know how to sage your house. I know I'm gonna be super paranoid the rest of the day, and especially later tonight. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!